Let's look at some examples of some liabilities, and specifically what we want to do is we want to apply this definition to them. So a liability is 1, a present obligation. What does that mean? It means you're obligated to settle or pay the item in the future. 2, you are obligated to transfer an economic resource or benefit to another entity. Now look, that's going to be money in 99% of cases. There is one example, but we'll deal with that later in our course, where it's not money. But for now, we'll just say money. And 3, as a result of a past event. The obligation or debt occurred as a result of a transaction in the past. And let's apply that to 4 common types of liabilities. Let's have a look at a bank overdraft. We got a bank account with the Bendigo Bank. Let's say it had 10,000 in it and we bought something for 11,000. And they let us do that because usually banks with businesses, they know a business is reliable, it's going to pay them back. That's okay, it's just in a negative temporarily. It's called an overdraft. Let's look at an account payable. That is a supplier who's sold us inventory on credit and we haven't paid. So let's say we are a sports store. We bought a bunch of stuff from Nike. We haven't paid for it yet. That is called an account payable. A loan or a mortgage. We borrowed money, let's say in this case, from the Commonwealth Bank. And let's look at this one, a phone bill payable. That's an expense payable. It's also called an accrued expense. Don't worry about that term yet. Again, something we'll deal with later. But yeah, that's a phone bill payable. So we owe Vodafone for last month's phone bill. Let's just say that. And what we'll do is we'll apply our 3 criteria here to each of these examples. So let's take a bank overdraft. It is a present obligation to what? Well, that's easy. You're obligated to repay the bank. Step 2, to transfer an economic resource. That's what you're obligated to do. What are you going to transfer? That's easy. Money. You're going to transfer cash. And lastly, there was a past event, and that was, in this case, you overdrew your bank account, which is just a fancy way of saying you took out more money than was in the account. What about with an account payable? What is your present obligation? Well, again, it's pretty similar. You're going to repay the supplier. What are you going to transfer to them? Again, easy. Cash. Going to transfer cash to settle the obligation. What was the past event? Well, you bought some inventory on credit from the supplier. With a loan or a mortgage, what's the obligation? Again, simple. Repay the bank or the lender. With what? Well, we're going to transfer cash. Why? What was the past event? Well, we applied for and received a loan from the bank. We filled out a bunch of forms and signed a bunch of stuff. Well, that's an event. And then they gave us money, and now we owe them. What about phone bill payable? Well, what are we obligated to do? Easy. Repay the phone company. To transfer an economic resource, well, what are we going to transfer again? Cash. And in this case, what's the past event? Maybe a little bit harder. How would you word this? But you could say, well, I owe Vodafone, let's say $500 for the business account last month. What was the past event? Well, I consumed or used the phone and the internet, and therefore I have a bill. But you will see, for most liabilities, the past event will probably be specific to each one. But you can see these are pretty much all going to be the same. What are you obligated to do for each of these liabilities? Repay, 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 repay. With what? What are you going to transfer? Easy. Cash, 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 cash.